Hi, today I'm going to show you how I got this model over into Blender, added an armature, a little bit of animation, I weight painted it, parented the bones, and then brought the whole thing back over into Unreal Engine. It's a real simple animation, and these trees are part of a bigger series. They're all created by my creative partner Brian Zillig, who made them computationally. So we have them arranged, and in the outliner I'm going to go up and right click. I'm going to browse to the asset over here, right click it again in the asset, and where the hell is that? Down here, asset actions. I'm going to export. Just a simple FBX is all. I've already exported it already. So now that we have that, let's minimize and file, import the usual into Blender. And here we go. We're going to add the armature now. There's just a simple mesh, and in this case it just has one mesh. This is the easiest way to armature rig something, but not the only way. Shift A, armature, and that's going to add a bone, and then we're going to scale that bone up. So I'm going to grab the universal tool to do that, and that's because I want the bottom of this tree right before all the branches that branch off to be kind of one animation, and then I'm going to do some secondary action on the top that will create another motion. So I'm going to go to edit, and with the top of that bone selected, type E, and then I'm going to also hit Z, and that will scale it up and draw it out or extrude it on the Z axis. So now I have two bones set up, and they don't necessarily have to be overlapping right on the mesh. So now we need to parent this. We're going to go back over to object mode, select on the mesh, shift select on the armature, right click, parent with automatic weights. And since it's one mesh, it all just kind of works out good. All right, there we are. And now we need to weight paint it. So this is the tricky part. Twirl open here the armature, and then you have to control click. It's a little weird because if you don't control click this, you won't get the same weight painting menu. So now you can go to weight paint, and you will have more options over here. So what we want to do is weight paint this, and I want to be able to select each bone first. So I'm going to select the top bone first, and I want to do just that area in weight painting. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to crank up the radius a bit, and I'm going to paint all of this just really broadly. This isn't how you do all weight painting, but it's pretty much the basis for how this thing is going to move. And the red area is going to create the most motion. Anything that's blue or green will have little or no motion. So I want everything to be more or less red if possible. And I'm going to try and constrain it to just the top. So I'm going to make a couple changes as I go. And I'm going to fast forward here to show you what I'm doing. Okay, that's good enough for now, and I'm going to get back out of weight paint for a moment. I'm going to click on the armature, come over here, and in the viewport display, I could put it in front, but I don't actually need to see them. So I'm going to leave them that way, and since my mesh is really skinny, I'm going to go and change them to a stick, and then I'm going to put it in front. So it won't really interrupt with the mesh too much. Then I'm going to come over. Once again, control click. So select on the armature, control click on there. That's the mesh, and then come back to weight paint. And that looks like I got everything more or less. Let's get the bottom of that. And anything I don't want, I'm going to just zoom in and use the control button. So I'm going to control paint these areas that I don't want to have too much influence on from that bone. Okay, now let's do the bottom bone. Grab the move tool, select the bottom bone. You can see it has no influence on anything here. Then I'm going to come back up, and for this one I'm going to paint everything, the whole shebang, and that's because I want to be able to make the tree sway. So you have to figure out what's going to move, what's going to be your root, all of that. And then this is a real sloppy way to weight paint. Make sure everything turns red. Much as possible. Whoops. Moved it accidentally there. Okay. So that looks pretty good. We'll go back to object mode over here and let's see if we get some animation. By the way, I'm going to pull this up and then I'm going to turn on automatic keyframing. So we'll go to the, let me click on the armature. So now that the armature is selected, I can go to pose mode and I'm going to set the first position for this using just a little bit of motion here, and that should make the tree just about sway, just a tiny bit. I'm going to bring it down to about 40 frames, and that'll be the end of that, about right there. I'm going to copy this last keyframe, and go to 81 here, or 82, about halfway, and let's just set the end and hit the space bar and see. Okay, the whole thing moves. Great. Automatic keyframes done. Now let's select on this bone. You can see my stuff disappears. And at about frame 40, we're going to just give it a little bit of a twist. And then it's going to go a little bit further, so I'm going to go past frame 40 about here. Maybe that's too much, I don't know. And it should come back. So let's take these, separate them a little bit, select on and off, and so this is that secondary motion, right? So that goes too far. That's more than we need. Okay, that's basic animation 101. Copy that last keyframe. It's 82V, and let's just double check, make sure we get it. It's a little goofy, not perfect, but happy enough with that. Okay, so here's how to bring it over into Unreal Engine. We want to select everything, right? So let's go back to object mode, select the whole thing, file, export, and for the first one, we're going to just do selected objects, find my location, I'm going to name it my file name, and then I'm going to add an underscore, and I'm going to call this one skeleton, and for that we don't need any animation turned on. Oh, one thing I forgot, cancel out all that. Select everything, go to Object, Apply, All Transforms. Perfect. Now it'll come over and not be weird. Let's try that again. File, Export, FBX, selected objects, choose my location. No animation. Go to the geometry. We can apply a modifier if we need or have one. That doesn't matter. We're going to turn off leaf bones. Objects, hit export. Okay, so that's going to be the skeleton that we'll apply the motion to. And then we're going to export again. And all this is the same except we check on animation, turn off NLA strips and all actions. And let's give this another name. We'll call this one anim on the end, and then we'll export that. So now we have both the animation and the skeleton. Over here I'm going to open up Unreal again, and instead of bringing them in this way, it says you get 3 changes. I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to manually bring these in. So now I'm going to do the skeleton first. Drop that one in, and we'll scroll down. The skeleton here we can reset, and then make sure that animation's turned off. So it's unchecked there, and we can import that. Now everything's in, and I'll add the material after. Let's bring in the animation now. Drop that in. And for the skeleton, I'll just type it in and find the skeleton. There it is. That should be the correct one. And look for the animation, and we'll import the animations. I'll leave everything else as is and hit import. It always says there's some issues, but when is there not ever in Unreal Engine? And these would look all twisted and incorrect if we did not apply those transforms. So now here it is. Let's hit play. And this one's blowing in the breeze, so it should work just fine. That's the basics for bringing a mesh out of Unreal into Blender, adding an armature, and then bringing it back. And I'll add some other materials to this and change it up and make it look right. But that's how the whole process works. Good luck with your projects.